Good morning, everyone. We're here today with Dr. Guy for our very first series that we're going to be doing. Many series going forward. What we're going to be doing is interviewing business owners locally that we like to learn more about and how they're running their business, how they're running their financial life, and of course to learn more about them. My name is Jose Palafox with Starfox Financial. I'm the founding member for Starfox Financial Services, and I'm here with Dr. Guy.
My name is Dr. Marshall Guy. I'm a facial plastic surgeon here in the Woodlands on Vision Park Boulevard, and I appreciate you inviting me over today.
I think this is going to be great. You're also a Rotarian and you're in our Rotary group. So one of the things that I'm very excited about is getting to know a little bit more about you. And tell me a little about where you grew up and how you got to the Woodlands and becoming a surgeon.
Great question. So I'm originally from the Spring area, just south of here. I grew up in the Champion Forest 1960 area. I went to St. Thomas High School downtown Memorial and Shepherd. From there, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, where I got my Bachelor of Arts in Biology and a Spanish minor. I then went to Baylor College of Medicine in the Medical Center for 4 years of medical school. That was followed by 5 years of my residency at Baylor College of Medicine as well, followed by a 1-year fellowship in Gulf Shores, Alabama with doing facial, plastic, and reconstructive surgery. I've known from a young age I always wanted to come up to the Woodlands. It's a beautiful area. I've always wanted to have a family and bring my family up here. And once we finished the training, we were able to make that happen. So I opened my practice in the Woodlands in November of 2015 and been going strong ever since.
Wow. So you've been here in the Woodlands just a couple of years then?
Correct. With my practice open, yes, but I've been coming up here since I was a teenager.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So were you causing trouble during those times?
Oh, I've always been a good boy. I was always like that rule follower. If there was a rule out there, and I definitely follow it to a T.
So tell us your family. You're married, you know?
Correct. I've got a wife. We're getting ready to celebrate our 10-year anniversary, and we're high school sweethearts. Thank you very much. That's why we've always known we wanted to be up here. We came to Woodlands Mall when it first opened. And then I have 2 daughters. I have a 5-year-old and a 19-month-old who keep me quite busy.
Yeah, that'll keep you awake many nights, right?
Yes.
So, I have 5 children. So
wow.
And my youngest is 18, so we've kind of got through that part. We're in a different section of our lives now, and but it still keeps us very, very busy. So. What do you find is the most difficult thing to do as a father and working at the same time?
I think it's trying to balance the two of those things out. To me, my family always does come first. So when the workday ends, I want to make sure that while my kids are awake, I am spending time just with the children. Once they go to bed, that's when I sometimes start doing some balancing of the books, do some of our social media content, come up with some ideas, go over surgeries in my head. So I make sure I have dedicated time for the family. And then once they're asleep, it's a little more time for the business there.
That's awesome. 2 things that I got out of that. One is obviously you're a dedicated parent, and that's fantastic. And one of our sayings for our business is faith, family, finance. And we do that because we put it in perspective that it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much success you have. If you don't have your faith in your family first, it really kind of all goes by the wayside sooner or later. The other thing that I gathered is that you said you were working and thinking of ideas in the late at night, which is what happens to I think all dedicated business owners is that we never really turn it off, do we?
Correct.
It's constantly trying to improve what we're going to be doing for our clients or our patients all the time. It's hard for some people that don't run a business, because I know there's a lot of people out there that work for companies and they think they want to be business owners, or doctors that want to be business owners, and they forget that there's a lot of work that goes into place in every day when we're away from the office. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
10 years of marriage, that's fantastic. That's we're at 13 years for us.
Congratulations.
Hopefully I can still remember that. So 2 little girls. So they're both already, one's not in school. Neither one is in school yet.
One's in school. She started kindergarten this year. We put her in preschool last year. And the other one, no, she stays at home still.
Yeah, so it keeps you guys busy at home, that's for sure.
She does. A lot of fun, though.
That's wonderful. What would you say when you were growing up in high school? You said something about that you kind of always figured you wanted to do this for a living. What kind of guided you that? What made you think this is what I want to do?
Well, I've always loved biology. I've always loved science. I've always loved math. So when you love those things, you're kind of sort of directed towards a field of medicine. Now, no one else in my family is a doctor other than my brother, but the generation above me, no, we didn't have anyone saying, okay, well, dad's a doctor, I'm going to be a doctor kind of a thing. But I always found the human body fascinating. Biology was one of my favorite classes. It continued that way in college, and so I knew I wanted to go to medicine. I didn't necessarily know what particular field of medicine, but I always knew I loved medicine. And once you get into medical school, as part of your training, you do different rotations. So you do your OB-GYN rotation, your pediatrics rotation, your medicine rotation, your surgery rotation. And when I did that, I realized I really like surgery. I've always been good with my hands. I've always been the Mr. Fix-It around the house. And then when I was able to do that on the human body, I was like, this is great. So it was a matter of finding what field works best for me, because there's a lot of different fields within surgery. And facial plastic surgery was a natural fit for me for a couple reasons. One, it's a very delicate area, and I've always been a perfectionist. You can't hide things in the face that go wrong. You know, body things, they're off a little bit. You can correct for those. You hide it with clothing. Face, you can't. And that just, my perfectionist attitude draws me towards that. Number two is I get along with these patients. I love chatting with my patients. I love spending time with my patients. And there's not a lot of areas of medicine where you can really spend more than a few minutes at a time with a patient.
Especially today.
With the exception of facial plastic surgery. So when my patients meet me, we block off a nice amount of time. We chat. I know about their family. I know about what's going on. I know about what brings them there. We definitely make sure we cover those things. But I want to develop more of that relationship. And so it was just a natural draw that I went in that particular route of medicine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I ran dental offices for a while, and one of the dentists that I worked for a time, he said he knew he wanted to be a dentist since he was like 5 years old. Mm-hmm. So I always find it fascinating because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 25 years old. I was 5. So that's amazing. That's a wonderful story. That not only did you want to do that, but you completed it. What do you think was the biggest hurdle for you to become where you're at today as a kid growing up in the Houston area? What do you think you had to overcome to kind of say, okay, yes, I can do this?
Well, a big part of it is deferred gratification. So the amount of training it took to get me where I am was about 32 years. So it's hard when you graduate college and all of your business friends go out and they start making money. And instead of making money and investing and getting ready for retirement, you're taking on a new mountain of debt for medical school. Although we are paid in our residency based on the number of hours, it's probably less than minimum wage. And so you're deferring about 9 years worth of economic growth you could have had starting in your 20s until your 30s. So that's probably the biggest thing, is to make sure you can financially do something like that, being able to take on the debt, manage the debt, and still want to go into the particular field. Now, I love what I do, and unfortunately there's some doctors who don't, but I love what I do, which makes it easier for me to constantly want to keep pursuing that route and then defer the benefits down the road.
Now, when you left school, did you have a financial plan to make sure that you covered any debt that was left over and actually focus on it?
So they give you an exit interview when you're leaving from medical school. They say, here's how much you owe. Here's what your monthly payments are going to be. Here's some options so you don't have to pay these things right now. Because for the most part, again, what you do get paid in your residency is not very much. And it's designed to be able to live on that, necessarily to pay back the 6-figure debt that you acquired getting that education. So they give you some ideas, and the biggest thing I could say is live below your means. And I've always done things like that. And so, I don't drink the coffee every day. We might go out to dinner on an occasion, but we were then able to use that money and start paying down our student loans a lot faster than a lot of other people. But a part of that is the discipline of knowing what you can spend on, where do you want to make those expenses, and then everything else you can put towards those high interest loans that you carry.
And I like the way they use deferred gratification, because obviously that's a lot of what we do in finances. We try to explain to people that every dollar you save today is worth a lot more, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, as opposed to, hey, I had to go get the new car or whatever else that they're trying to get right this second. So that's fantastic. One of the things is on your surgery, I don't know if this is the kind of surgery you do, but when I was 18, 19 years old, I grew up with a very big overbite. Mm-hmm. So I had a huge overbite, and there was no way I could afford to get that surgery done. Fortunately, the Air Force does do that surgery. Yep. So when I joined the Air Force at 18, I was stationed in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, which at the time I felt, coming from Southern California, like it was a terrible place to go, right? I mean, from sunny Southern California to the middle of Nebraska. Yes. But turns out, God has a funny way of working things out. Turns out Omaha, Nebraska was SAC headquarters at the time, so there was a lot of generals, a lot of colonels that were on that base. Therefore, they had some of the best doctors on that base. And the Air Force paid for me to have my surgery. So they removed my job, cut it into 3 different places, put it back in, and I still have wires to this day. So whenever I go to the dentist, the first thing that the person that takes the x-rays thinks they did something wrong, because there's all kinds of lines in my mouth. I'm like, no, that's supposed to be there. So. Yep. So and I don't know if that's the kind of surgery you do or not.
I don't do that particular one. That's more orthodontic surgery. Right. We're going to have an oral maxillofacial surgeon, because you got to get the bite aligned. Sure. I definitely do a lot of surgery in the face. That's what my area of expertise is. I do penile trauma. So if you had a fracture that gave you all those things, you'll see that might work on some people's x-rays as well, little metal plates in the face. Right. We do trauma. We do reconstruction as well. So cancer, people have various cancers, we try to put them back so that no one ever realized something was there in the first place. Sure. And of course the cosmetic things as well. It's the facelifts, brow lifts, rhinoplasty, ear pinning. We do dermal fillers, so your Voluma, Restylane, Silk, carry 9 different fillers, your Botox, your Dysport, neuromodulators, skin resurfacing, lasers, chemical peels, dermabrasion, our own skincare line. I like to tell people if it's here up and it makes things look better, whether it's from age, skin cancer, or trauma, I can help out.
That's fantastic. I need to come see you. Well, that's wonderful that they have all that. Are you seeing more? I laugh because obviously I'm not going to come see you, but not because of anything other than my own pride of not having to touch my face, right? But having said that, are you seeing a lot more men coming towards?
Men represent the fastest growing segment because it's becoming more and more accepted that we're doing these types of things, and as they find out their friends are doing it, they're doing it too. Now, I'll say they're the least likely to let me use their photos on the website. So for marketing purposes, guys pretty much don't exist on the website. I have some amazing results, whether it's the facelift, whether it's the Botox, whether it's the fillers. A lot of guys, too, are doing it because they're getting back into the workforce. So they might have retired. They kind of want to go back in, and they don't want to have some of the stigma of being older because now people are looking for more and more youthful faces. There's a lot more interactions, a lot more social media. And we'll be doing eyelid surgery in the clinic. We'll be doing facelifts. We'll do skin resurfacing, some Botox, just so they have a little bit more of a younger look with all the years of experience. I think it's kind of giving them a leg up in the field.
Yeah, well, I never thought about that, but that would make sense. That if you go, especially if you're going to corporate America, where you have 30, 40-year-olds that are, pushing you aside, and you've maybe retiring, you're going back, you want to look a little bit younger when you're there. So that makes complete sense.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your business and any hurdles that you have to handle day to day. I know when I ran dental offices, one of the reasons I was the one running the dental office because the dentist didn't want to have to deal with the staff, they didn't want to deal with the payroll, they didn't want to deal with anything, so they hired me to do that for them. How is it in your office, in your business?
Well, that's the biggest thing coming from the field of medicine is that we have no classes in business. So it's pretty much you hit the ground running and you just go from there. So part of it was just learning what I needed to do. So there was some annual courses that we go to, and they have all the surgical lectures and the injectable lectures, but they also have the business lectures. The business lectures are usually geared towards the people in the office who are your office manager. But before I finished my training, I said, I'm going to go take a look at those lectures in this course. And so I went there and I learned a lot of things that I had no idea I didn't know. Once I learned those things, I think the key is to make sure you're always willing to learn more. So I was reading online, I was reading about various things. My particular bank where I got my loan didn't require a business plan, but I still drew one up because I wanted to think about all these things down the road. Once the business was set up, the day-to-day, you're right. I mean, I do payroll every 2 weeks. I get the notification from QuickBooks saying, okay, got to make sure you do your payroll today, have the funds available, things like that. Yeah. It's making sure that whatever future investments I like to make, new products, new lasers, new techniques, new devices, new creams, that I can plan with what I have booked surgically, with the desire to grow the practice, to offer new things. So I'm looking at balancing those budgets, looking at the tax burden from various things, what sort of tax benefits I could take if I decide to buy a new piece of equipment this year. There's a lot of tax benefits with that up to a certain amount. And so we'll see then based on our net profit for the year, what I should be doing. So I talk to my accountant on a routine basis as well. And then it's the personnel, making sure things are running smoothly, making sure all my patients are happy. We do have an office manager, but everything eventually flows to me, and I want my patients happy. I want the office happy. And it's not always easy to have to let one employee go this year, and I've hired a new one since. But the employee was great. She just wasn't a great fit for us. And that's part of the thing as well, is making sure that who you get is a great fit for your office, because it's all about the culture that you have there. And once you found that, everyone looks great on paper. When they fit with you, it really makes things run smoothly.
And that's something I've learned. I've been a financial advisor now for 21 years, and I've hired friends, family. I've done a little bit of everything over the years. And what I find is that even though somebody's qualified to be whatever position you hire them for, they absolutely might not be a fit for the culture that you created in your company. That is very, very important for business owners out there to understand that. A lot of times it doesn't matter if that person has every degree in the book and they fit everything that you think they're going to do. They come in and they just disrupt everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but in this practice, not so much, but when I ran dental practices, we would hire doctors, we would hire hygienists, we would hire assistants that come in. And every once in a while you get that one that's completely qualified to do the job, but they come in and it's just a disruption every day. Mm-hmm. Every day something's going wrong with their life, or every day they don't like somebody, or they upset a patient. And it's just what I've learned over the years is it's always best to sit those people down, give them a chance to correct their whatever they're doing, and if they don't, it's best to move on. Do you find it's better to just move on from that?
I agree with that because it creates an environment that's not conducive for your patients. It's not conducive for the office staff. You want everyone to get along, and we're all individuals. You're not going to get along 100% of the time. But you want, for the most part, everyone to like each other. And you're right. Sometimes people are bringing things from the house, which disrupts the office. Sometimes employees are disrupting everyone else. So they might not be as busy as they could be, and they're going around talking with everyone else and preventing everyone else from doing their job. So you give them a chance, and if things aren't working, it is best to sort of cut those ties and get someone else you think would be a better fit for the office. Because working with someone who's not good, or is not a good fit, your patients see that, at least in my practice. And some patients, if they don't like who's at the very front, or they don't like someone in the office, they're going to go somewhere else or somebody else. So you want to make sure everyone always feels welcome in the area. It's creates like a happy place and a fun place to be.
Great. Going on to, so those are some of the things that you've come across as far as hurdles, which it sounds like you did a great job. When I was consulting with doctors, one of the things that I always told them is, you're a good doctor, but you need to be a good businessman too. And a lot of them didn't want to bother with that. They say, hey, I'm a doctor, that's what I want to do. But if they don't do the business side of the practice properly, you're not going to be a successful doctor for very long. Mm-hmm. So I admire the fact that you went and did that homework and learned all the things that you, especially learning what your staff is going to go through. Mm-hmm. Because the staff has a whole other set of problems that you might or might not even see. A lot of times doctors don't want to pay attention to that. They want to pay attention to the patient, they want to pay attention to the procedure, and they forget that by the time they get to the procedure, if the staff's already touched them 3 or 4 times, that patient might not be 100% ready for you or even want to be ready with you because of all this, everything that happened beforehand. Mm-hmm. So I admire that. So it sounds like you have quite a few business strengths. Let's talk a little bit about now, you've started the practice, you obviously dedicated to pushing the debt down. What are you looking as far as investing or getting ready for the future, for your family, for college, for the kids, for the business growth? How are you approaching those things?
I think it's always great to have a financial advisor, because no matter what you're doing, there's definitely someone out there who knows a lot more than you about various fields. And you can try to be a jack of all trades, but when it comes to certain things, it's best to have a dedicated person. So I do have a financial advisor, and they've come up with some plans for us. Mm-hmm. I do have 2 kids. There's a chance we're going to have more in the future. We're not quite sure at that point, but we definitely have to plan for college. College seems to get more expensive every day. So we have to be setting aside money for that. We also take advantage of a lot of the tax benefits. I didn't realize there's so many tax benefits now. They are getting ready to overhaul the tax plan, so we'll see what changes. Maybe not. That's true. But there's a lot to take into account with those that you wouldn't even have thought about, including things like your IRAs, whether it's a Roth or traditional IRA, whether I'm going to be spending the money, the taxes right now, not knowing what the tax rate will be in the future, or just say, okay, I know what the tax is now, I'll just pay this, and that money's going tax-free. You can have restrictions on some of those things. We also talked about whole life insurance policies. We kind of put money into those, overfund them. Mm-hmm. That can then be used for loans for later, whatever interest rate I want. So there's a lot of different tax plans that you can take advantage of that I had no idea. So the biggest advice I can give is get someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, sure.
Get a financial advisor, because you can save thousands, tens of thousands, depending on how well you're doing business-wise, hundreds of thousands of dollars with the right plan out there.
Right, and that's one of the things we provide at Starfox Financial is we've added the financial planning software that we can do all those things and plan it out. The other thing that I see though in the industry, I noticed you said whole life products and things like that for the kids. One of the things I've learned over the years is that one of the things our industry pushes is retirement money. Do you have a lot of retirement money? Do you have 401ks and IRAs set aside?
We have a 401k through my wife's plan. I have a 403b that was set up in med school that I will mention has very little money, because at that point we didn't have much. And so I think that the College of Medicine actually required us to do it. So I think it was 1% of every paycheck, which was not a lot.
Sure.
So it still didn't add up to much. We do have the whole life policies in there. We also have the savings plans, and actually have 2 whole life policies, just to sort of have some different ways of funding things in the future. Since we didn't start making money until about 2 years ago, since we were in med school in our mid-30s, before we finally started getting some, our savings is probably not what others would be at this stage in life. They went into business. Mm-hmm. But part of that, we've also been very aggressively paying down a lot of those student loans that someone didn't necessarily accumulate earlier. Loans with interest rates as high as 10%. So I don't think there's a lot of investment products I can get out there that can give me a 10% rate of return right now. So that's why instead of pushing more towards savings, we put a lot towards paying off.
Yeah, and that's a great point. One of the things that we get asked a lot is, should I pay my credit card debt or should I invest the money? And really, it's a variable of how high is the interest rate and what's your total return. So, for instance, we get people that say, "Hey, I want to pay off my house rather than invest in the market." But if the house loan is at 3 3/4 and the market's returning 8, you're probably better off to leave it in the market. But if your house loan or credit card is 16%, 12%, and the market's going to return somewhere between 4 and 8% on average in these last few years and going forward, probably. So you're probably better off paying that debt. So there is a variable there, and again, very well taken care of by yourself. One of the things I did want to mention is you mentioned your 401k. You mentioned some of the things that in our industry it's very, very prevalent that you have to max out your 401k. You have to max out your retirement accounts. I'm a little bit not so on board that, because one of the things that I find is that a lot of people, when they get to retirement age, that's all they have. They only have their retirement money. Well, when you get to retirement age, one of the drawbacks of that is that every penny that you touch is touched as full income. Whereas opposed to if you had saved it in a regular account, I'll give you an example. So let's say you're putting $15,000 away a year in your 401k, right? And then you're putting $15,000 a year in a regular account. You buy the stock market today. What's your tax consequence over the next 10 years in the regular account? It's whatever you buy today. If you don't sell it, there's no tax consequence. Okay. So it acts like a tax deferral to some extent, right? It's not tax deferral, but you're not paying taxes other than on the dividends you're getting. You do pay something on that. So you still have the same ability to put the money away and continue to grow in a retirement account. The problem is when it comes out. Sure. So when it comes out, one of the things that I always get is that, well, when we retire, we're going to be in a lower tax bracket. And I always ask the same question: do you really want to make less money when you retire than when you were working? And the answer is invariably no, right? So really, you're probably going to be in the same tax bracket, and here you're taking out income, getting taxed at 30%, right? 39%, the highest bracket. So what we try to teach now is that we want you to build up your taxable account just as much as your retirement account. Because when you get there, if you're living off your taxable account, that's only taxed at capital gains, which is in a lot of cases much lower than the income tax, right? It's the Buffett effect. He always says, my secretary gets taxed more than him. Well, that's because his secretary is paying income tax while he's probably paying capital gains. Sure. And there's ways you can offset that. So one of the things that for me has been over the years, I try to explain to clients that you've got to have both. Don't just be so set on retirement money. And that's what gets pounded down our throats every day by the industry in general. And it's a good thing, believe me, it's a good thing to say something better than nothing, right? Yeah. But what I've tried to open up the eyes to our clients is that if you use both methods, when you get to the end, now you have a choice, right? Now you have a choice. How do I get that money to myself to live the rest of my years in retirement? And I don't know if you had heard that before or not, but that's one of the things that we do find a lot of our business owners or a lot of our families are being told every day: retirement money, right? Yeah. And it's sound advice, but it doesn't actually necessarily work all that great when you get there. Sure. Right. And the other thing is that although we're supposedly getting a tax cut here in the next few months, right? What are the odds that taxes are going to go down 10, 20 years from now? Sure. The odds are pretty good that it's probably going to go up, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. So having said that, any other financial questions you have as a business owner that you come across day in and day out and maybe haven't had a good answer on, or that you're thinking about?
I think you've done a great job talking about a lot of variable things here, including the personal income versus the business. There's different ways I can structure my business, and the way we did it, since I'm a sole business owner or sole proprietor, I actually have a PLLC, and then we do a sub corporation. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different tax strategies that can be used. I'm fortunate I did talk with some good people ahead of time. You got great advice here as well today to help set some of these things up. But on the whole, I think you've done a great job elucidating a couple of topics there today.
Well, good. No, I've had a pleasure just getting to know you a little bit better. Like I said, as fellow Rotarians, we run across quite a bit of paths, but never got to know you all that well. And I'm really, really impressed with everything that Dr. Guy here has done. Let me tell you guys, he's really top of the class when it comes to a lot of the strategies he's using, how he's running his business. We have a lot of doctor clients, and I can tell you quite a few of them aren't halfway as far as Dr. Guy is here, because he's done the homework, taken the time to learn what it takes to do the right financial decisions, and he's done the hardest thing, which is defer gratification today, which even I'm not that great at doing. So having said that, any other questions that you might have for us, anything that would interest you in today?
I think it's been great. I really appreciate you having me out here for your first talk, and I'd love to come back if you ever have a need for me again.
We look forward to it. We look forward to it. For anybody out there, we're Starfox Financial, and we're right here in the Woodlands at 10077 Grogan's Mill Road, Suite 475. And I know Dr. Guy is right just down the street from us. Where are you at?
Correct. So we're at 128 Vision Park Boulevard, Suite 150. It's on the same street as Kelsey-Seybold Clinic's located on. If you'd like to learn more about our offices, what procedures we perform there, you can come to our website at www.drguyfacialplastics.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, where I answer a lot of questions from various patients, as well as Facebook. And of course, I'd always love to see you there in the office where I do all of our procedures.
So that'll wrap it up. You have a wonderful day.